Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with iTrack. Big shout out to everybody in the building, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to the mods, man. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for always tapping in, man. Per usual, I have a handful of interesting videos for us to go ahead and take a look at. But before we do any of that, make sure to smash that like button for me, man. Hit that subscribe button if you're not a part of the iTrack fan, and hit that hype button for me. Now let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Did you guys hear what was just announced with BlackRock yesterday? And this is making many people wonder if we're in black swan territory. If you don't know what a black swan is, it's basically when a financial event happens that tanks the market's unfathomable amounts in like seconds. So for the first time in history, BlackRock is halting withdrawals. $26 billion is blocked. And you may be thinking like, to hell with BlackRock, like good, let them go down. But here's the problem. Yes, BlackRock is, they're taking over everything. But if they crash, so does your local gas station. So does all the companies they own, which is like our world right now. People want to cash out of BlackRock, but they said no. System is cracking, panic is spreading, and liquidity is gone. So investors wanted 9.3% of their money back, and BlackRock fully said no, which entails like they don't have it or something else is going on. I'm sure this is like a controlled burn, part of the new financial system they want to implement, right? Basically, the private credit market is in the tubes right now. So with rising oil, war in the Middle East, AI shaking things up, more and more layoffs because of AI, and rate cuts are off the table. And then one of the world's biggest funds says you can't get your money back. This is a massive red flag. And I'm sure none of it is a coincidence either.
And the reason why that's creepy is because 99.9% of ownership is if the asset is actually in your possession. So you put money into the bank, it doesn't belong to you because it isn't in your physical possession. So BlackRock putting a halt to anybody taking their money, man, it's teaching everybody a good lesson.
Well, we all know a friend, family member or work colleague who just seems to drain the life out of every conversation. Well, now scientists say they might be doing exactly that. A new study suggests dealing with difficult people can actually speed up your own ageing. Researchers call them hasslers, the people who create constant stress in our lives. And nearly 1 in 3 people say they have at least one. Scientists found repeat negative interactions can trigger chronic stress, which over time is linked to faster biological ageing. That stress can affect sleep, mood and long-term health. On the flip side, supportive friendships are known to boost well-being and longevity. Experts say the lesson is simple. Choose your company wisely, because the wrong people in your life might be adding more than just grey hairs.
Story for you. One of the highest ranking government officials who is said to hold the most sensitive U.S. secrets in his head is missing, and mainstream media is barely talking about it. What is going on? On Friday, February 27th, around 11 a.m., 68-year-old retired Air Force General William Neal McCaslin left his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico without his phone, wallet, or keys, which his wife Susan said was highly unusual. Susan told authorities her husband may have gone on a run, but would never have left his phone behind. Well, authorities issued a silver alert, which indicates the missing person has a cognitive impairment, but Susan is calling BS, saying her husband was in tip-top shape and had no issues mentally. The reason his disappearance is highly concerning is because he was one of the highest-ranking UFO government officials who is overseeing an aerospace and advanced weapons research program. I didn't even know that was a thing. Before retiring, he was the former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory and led major research operations out of Kirkland Air Force Base and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is strongly connected to investigations regarding unidentified aerial phenomena.
As you know, the fashion industry can get very dark, and the runways, especially during Paris Fashion Week, are very edgy with a lot of symbolism. But bringing Marilyn Manson into this, they're not hiding it anymore. This takes it to a whole nother level. This is a man that has the sigil of Lucifer tattooed onto his hand. Just takes a quick Google search to find that out. But watch what he did during his little runway strut intro. It's just very dark.
Time made my mother cry. An angel dies and falls from heaven. When the boy is still a worm, it's hard to learn the number 7. 5, 6, 7, 8, never. Heaven. 900!
did we expect anything less? I can't say I'm too shocked. I just can't.
At the beginning of the evolution, it seems. And we are here with creatures, and at the top of the pyramid.
That song, Saturnalia, has very disruptive binaural audio in it. The whole record does. If you listen to it in headphones, it will affect your brain chemistry. I started reading about this. There's actual bunch of people in America trying to protest this new. There's some different websites where you can download audio that creates the same chemical reaction in your brain as drugs. And the word that kids are going to get addicted to audio drugs. But some of those are true. Some of those frequencies do have an effect on your brain. They make you feel happy or sad. And
So is this record an audio drug?
it is. It's alchemical and it's binaural and it is it's magic in some way.
You know, the one thing about Marilyn Manson, he never tried to hide what he was on. You always knew exactly what time he was on, and he was very unapologetic about it.
Well, vampires are real in the occult. Dracula is a more modern type of the literature that's going to hold the belief system and their history within it. So you have Dracula, for example, as a son of a dragon. It goes back to Greek for drakont and drakonta, which means watcher, as in watcher angel. The giants, both before and after the flood, and secret societies probably at the adept level even today would drink blood. And they were drinking blood to extend their life after Genesis 6:3, shorten all lifespan to 120 years. And they also used it secondarily to provide additional cognitive abilities. They preyed on humans not only to eat them before the flood, but to drink their blood. And then after the flood, they had to do things a little bit more in secrecy as they were needing humankind to survive because they had a fertility issue after the flood.
I wanted to tell y'all about eating people. Now, some years ago, I worked in the palliative care and home hospice at a hospital, which means we took care of people who, their time was coming to an end. And I used to go out with the nurses sometimes. And this one time I went way up north to this woman's house. She had this disease called Creutzfeldt-Jacobs. They couldn't figure out how she got it because the only way you get this disease is from eating humans or eating human flesh. It's like mad cow for humans.
So it's pretty obvious it wasn't a question of how she got that disease. It's a question of who she was eating to get that disease.
This is the most incredible family home in Rome, but twice a week they just let random people wander in. That includes you, by the way. It's called Colonna Palace, and the family who own it has been collecting art and gold and more gold since the 1300s. On Fridays and Saturdays, however, they just go, fine, come look at our stuff. And their stuff is a lot. We're talking ceiling frescoes that make the Sistine Chapel look like it's still saving up. Giant paintings, chandeliers the size of an entire apartment, and marble floors so shiny you will absolutely check your reflection in them.
After 15 years in his Cooper City home, Robert Levine decided it was finally time to sell. But instead of contacting a real estate agent, he turned to the power of the prompt, ChatGPT.
I really wanted to challenge myself to use AI for the entire journey, not just piecemeal every step along the way.
The married father of 3 says he used artificial intelligence for everything. The planning, the pricing, the marketing, even the paint.
We repainted a couple of rooms in the house because ChatGPT said that's where you're going to get the biggest return on investment.
ChatGPT helped Robert design the marketing materials, like his open house handout and the online listing. Then told him how to get his home listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service, scheduled his showings, and suggested the best day to list his home. Turned out to be terrific timing.
I think within the first 72 hours, we had 5 offers on the home already.
Now, this is what's going to start the ripple effect of people only using like AI programming like ChatGPT to do their daily business. Very interesting.
All right, let's have a quick glance at this. These are human teeth. These are the teeth of animals that eat fruit. And these are the teeth of animals that eat meat. These are human hands. These are the hands of animals that eat fruit. And these are the hands or paws of animals that eat meat. This is the length of human intestines. This is the length of the intestines of animals that eat fruit. And this is the length of the intestines of animals that eat meat. This is the stomach acid strength in humans. This is the stomach acid strength in animals that eat fruit. And this is the stomach acid strength in animals that eat meat. I don't know. You tell me. What are we supposed to eat?
I don't know. Groceries are kind of high nowadays, so I guess we're supposed to eat whatever we can afford.
Fun fact of the day. The board game Chinese checkers was invented in 1892 in Germany.
Epstein went to a camp in Michigan called Interlochen. And a lot of famous people have gone. Josh Groban, Nora Jones, Chappell Roan, Felicity Huffman. So Epstein, in the 90s, he starts taking an interest in the camp again. His plane starts flying there in 93. He goes there with Maxwell in 94. But then he starts making donations so that there could be a cabin built in this camp called Epstein Lodge.
No.
And part of the deal was that every summer he could stay there for 2 weeks.
That is so bizarre.
Somebody tell me exactly what's going on with Macaulay Culkin at Paris Fashion Week. Mind you, this is the same Macaulay Culkin who made a surprise cameo in Kim Kardashian's version of what she called Santa Baby, that extremely eerie and dark video we all remember. Mind you, this is the same Macaulay Culkin who reportedly swore off the entertainment industry years ago because of the alleged things he had to go through when he got into it. Does nobody else find it very coincidental we see Macaulay Culkin at Paris Fashion Week with that shirt he was wearing, all in the same month or two that his mom in Home Alone actually passed away? Some people will say it's just fashion and people are reading way too deep into it. Other people hypothesize there's a lot more to that. Comment below with your thoughts. Am I onto something or am I tripping?
Scientists have literally put a fly into the matrix. Scientists have uploaded the brain of a fruit fly into a computer and now it lives freely in its own simulation. Look at this little guy. He's just there washing his hands, living his best life. It has no idea at all that it's in a digital world. Look at this, look at this. He's about to eat digital food. Oh, look, it's so tasty, right? Bro, this is wild. The way they demoed this was using 139,000 neurons and 50 million synapses from a real fruit fly brain. Built a neural model, plugged the sensory inputs, gave it a physics simulated body and environment, and just like that, the brain performs its natural behaviors of a fruit fly. But it's in a digital world and has no idea that it's in a digital world because how would it know? It's literally the Matrix. So the crazy thing to think about, if you really want to think about it, is what if that's us right now? Or what if it's something that could happen to us?
NASA released this photo from the surface of Mars. What is this? This photo is going viral right now. It was taken back in 2022 by our helicopter on Mars. Yes, there's a helicopter on Mars. It's called Ingenuity and it flew 72 times over 3 years. Anyway, it flew over and sent back images of this, which, to be fair, looks like a crashed UFO. But it's not. If you look right here, you'll see a parachute. A parachute that looks a lot like this. This is a photo taken from the Perseverance rover as it and the helicopter landed on Mars. And this looks a lot like this, which is the spacecraft that the rover and the helicopter descended on Mars in. The helicopter took photos of the stuff it arrived in, which looks crazy because it's very damaged, but this damage is super important to study so that we can fix it for future missions to Mars. As we go to Mars more and more, we're gonna run into more and more human-made stuff. There's an entire debris field from this. And if you want more videos like this, you can follow me in the place that I can't mention on this app. But here it is.
All fake. I think everything has been falsified before the year 1600.
How so?
If you look on very, very old maps, you see that there used to be a country called Tartaria that was in existence. And at a certain point, all of history has been changed. About 1,000 years have been added to the timeline in order to justify land claims, largely have to do with the Eurasian horde and the elimination of the Eurasian horde. Rome and Greece and Egypt were actually active till around 1600. And that Rome actually fell around 1492.
As opposed to what's the conventional timeline?
About 1,000 years before. If you can wrap your head around it, the Salem witch trials took place around the same time as the Inquisition. Columbus was discovering America around the time Rome fell. All of this was designed to erase this entire civilization from history.
I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement.
Cool.
What do you make of that?
It's a mystery.
Okay.
It's a mystery. By the way,
it would be helpful if we had other measurements of that object that could verify that it actually went to aircraft level, that it was actually the size that he says. It'd be nice to have more data surrounding that observation.
We do need more data. Let's look at these two people that we've circled here in red. Neil, those aren't people.
Yeah, those are aliens, for sure.
Bingo.
Yeah, totally.
Those are aliens in human suits.
Yeah, I agree. I have to agree. And they're spies in the hearings to try to make sure not enough information outs them. For sure.
Now, wouldn't that be wild if those were actually aliens in human suits? I mean, we got to investigate that a little bit more.
The first is never explain yourself under pressure. So that automatically means submission. And you might want to fire back with, I don't think you meant to, but that question is designed to put me in a position of justifying myself, and that's not a role I'm going to take right now. Number two is never argue about your motives. So just don't do it. Just openly call it out. Like, well, the way you said that puts me into a place of defending what kind of person I am. Three is never take the bait on any character questions at all. Like, never argue about who you are. Four is never apologize just to de-escalate, ever. So if you're with a manipulator, the apology that they're trying to force out of you is an admission of guilt, not saying that you're going to fix anything. And five is never match emotion to prove your point. So never match somebody's intensity. Six is never accept somebody else's language without precision. So words like disrespect or abuse or betrayal, they can totally hijack a narrative. Mm-hmm. So you might just say, those words all carry some kind of frame. And if I accept those words, what you just said, I'm not speaking for myself anymore. So that's a big one. And seven is never accept any binary traps, like the either yes, no, the either or question. There's always nuance to it, and always seek specificity. Always get into specifics. When you said this, what specifically did you want to talk about? And always go back to their intention. Like, what was your intention? What's the ideal outcome here for you? Mm-hmm. And 8 is never try to win through just logic.
In case you didn't know, nearly all baby carrots are washed in chlorine before being processed and packed in plastic and sold to you. Invented in 1986 by the California farmer, baby carrots now account for 70% of all carrot sales, dominated by 2 producers. They're cut from larger, misshapen carrots and washed in chlorine solution, usually 75 to 200 parts per million, before being rinsed in tap water, packaged, and resold to you. Producers claim their rinse water tests at 2 to 7 parts per million to show that it's safe, but that just measures the water and not the actual carrot, which undoubtedly soaks up a large amount of these toxins. Because baby carrots are peeled, losing their protective skin, toxic chlorine byproducts like trihalomethanes are absorbed directly into the flesh at higher concentrations. And this is according to peer-reviewed research from Spain's University of Murcia. Your best bet is to buy large organic carrots and wash them in reverse osmosis water. And always try to find a local farmer you can trust. You can find the latest produce testing on the Oasis app.
Not even the baby carrots are safe. Seems like all the veggies these days have like extra ingredients we didn't ask for.
The 11 most insane things the CEO who runs ChatGPT has said.
A kid born today will never be smarter than AI. I expect some really bad stuff to happen because of the technology. And anybody will be able to make a video of you doing whatever they want with video that's publicly available of you on the internet. There'll be extremely capable biomodels available open source that could help people create new pathogens. I cannot imagine having gone through that, like figuring out how to raise a newborn without ChatGPT.
Why should we trust you?
You shouldn't. Well, we haven't put a sexbot avatar in ChatGPT yet. Ads plus AI is sort of uniquely unsettling to me. The board can fire me. I think that's important. I think the board over time needs to get democratized to all of humanity. There's many ways that could be implemented. If I were 22 right now and graduating college, I would feel like the luckiest kid in all of history. We don't yet know how to think about some superintelligence being aligned with dictators and totalitarian countries. We don't know how to think about countries using AI to fight new kinds of war with each other. People talk about how much energy it takes to train an AI model relative to how much it costs a human to do one inference query. But it also takes a lot of energy to train a human. It takes like 20 years of life and all of the food you eat during that time before you get smart. I think AI will probably, most likely sort of lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies created with
series.
These are the craziest celebrity contracts. So Tom Cruise has a no toys rule in all of his contracts that bans his likeness from being used for any merchandise, particularly action figures. So there's no official Top Gun or Mission Impossible toys out there that have him on it. Shirley Temple's contracts didn't allow her to age, and it's thought that studios would actively try to stunt her growth and hide any maturing features to keep her looking like a little girl for as long as possible. Adriana Caselotti, the original voice of Snow White in 1937, had an airtight contract with Disney that blacklisted her from appearing in any other films or even singing on the radio, so that her voice would only ever be Snow White. James Gandolfini was reportedly paid $3 million from HBO to not take a role in The Office in order to preserve his legacy as Tony Soprano. Van Halen had contracts with their venues demanding bowls of M&Ms with all the brown ones removed, not because they cared about the candy, but because if they missed the M&M rule, then the band knew that they probably likely messed up some of the safety rigging systems that were buried nearby in the contract. And finally, Uma Thurman's contracts allegedly stipulated that she must have the biggest dressing room, and if not, she had to be upgraded immediately. That's crazy.
During World War II, the US Navy noticed a mysterious shadow on their sonar. It was too shallow to be the seafloor, but more alarmingly, it moved. Every night it would creep closer to the ship, only to slink away again during the day. Was it a hidden fleet? A moving continent? A giant monster? To find out, we have to dive deep. This zone of the ocean is called the Twilight Zone. Light struggles to reach down here, and the food is scarce. So every night, some animals rise from this deep, dark place, swim hundreds of meters to the surface, where they feed safely under the cover of night, and then they return to the dark during the daytime to hide. A few animals doing this wouldn't show up like this on the sonar, but billions of tons of them would. These sailors were unknowingly witnessing the world's largest migration, a global event so big that it churns the nutrients of our oceans, and it protects us by quickly pulling harmful carbon back deep into the sea. But today, there's still a lot of questions about what exactly is happening here. To learn about how they're gonna find out more, follow along.
As soon as you unlock digital human, you basically have access to trillions of dollars of revenue. In fact, you can really think of it like the most valuable companies currently by market cap, their output is digital. NVIDIA's output is FTPing files to Taiwan. It's digital.
Right.
Now, those are very, very difficult to...
high-value files.
They're the only ones that can make files that good, but that is literally their output. They FTP files to Taiwan. You know, Apple doesn't make phones. They send files to China. Microsoft doesn't manufacture anything. Even for Xbox, that's outsourced. Their output is digital. Meta's output is digital. Google's output is digital. So if you have a human emulator, you can basically create one of the most valuable companies in the world overnight, and you would have access to trillions of dollars of revenue. It's not like a small amount. I mean, if you take something as simple as, say, customer service, if you have to integrate with the APIs of existing corporations, many of which don't even have an API, so you've got to make one, and you've got to wade through legacy software, that's extremely slow. However, if AI can simply take whatever is given to the outsourced customer service company that they already use and do customer service using the apps that they already use, you can make tremendous headway in customer service, which is, I think, 1% of the world economy, something like that. It's close to $1 trillion all in for customer service. There's no barriers to entry. You can just immediately say, we'll outsource it for a fraction of the cost, and there's no integration needed.
Hey, Elon doesn't sleep. He just sits up thinking about equations and how to build the next business and even grow the ones he already has. He probably gets 1 or 2 hours of sleep max.
Have you ever been able to remote view?
I don't want to talk about that.
No?
I'm not saying it on camera. Good question.
What can you say about remote viewing?
I can tell you this, that you got to be careful with remote viewing because you have sentinels who are patrolling who comes into that space. And if you disobey them, they can trap your soul, basically.
Damn. Meaning what? Like?
Yeah, so if you go remote viewing in a restricted area, if you keep coming back, they can trap your consciousness someplace. There are people in hospitals right now in comas who's remote viewing and they got trapped someplace else.
What the fuck? Check out Area 51. No, they got a blockade. I heard
they got a blockade
around
Area 51 and Mount Shasta.
You could stop remote viewing?
They got people. All right. They have. All right.
He said, all right.
They have.
Damn, so if I can't see that type of shit, what the fuck I got it for? I'm just gonna see if a bitch cheating or something? Like, I want to see this shit.
Not World War III, but it is a war that's now affecting the whole
world. By just 2 countries launching an attack less than 2 weeks ago. Today, at least 20 different countries are now involved in some military capacity, meaning it may be the closest we've been to a world war in decades. According to Axios, it's now drawn in more countries, more great powers, and more overlapping conflicts than any crisis since the Cold War. So here are the main 3 ways that this war will touch almost the entire planet. Yes, even you, Africa. Firstly, allied countries have become targets. See, because the US military have bases in many countries around Iran, they were the first to be dragged in and started receiving a huge barrage of missile and drone attacks, a number of which made impact. And on top of the casualties, damages, and millions forked out in defense missiles, for many, like the UAE's Dubai, it's caused major cracks in their safe holiday destination image that they've worked so hard to create. Secondly, the US and Israel didn't inform allied countries they were about to attack, which left governments around the world scrambling to evacuate their citizens and make quick rush decisions on their own involvement. For many, that caused major political backlash at home, especially since UK bases were attacked and NATO defense systems had to get involved. And the third and most wide-reaching consequence of all, prices.
Oil prices are now up 70%. It's going to be the largest monthly move of all time, and it's only the 9th of March.
Let's not forget, while the war is going on over here, the financial system is being changed over here. So there's a lot going on. We definitely will be tapping into all of it.
AI will not simply teach us faster. It will confront us with the versions of ourselves that we spent decades avoiding. The more capable the system becomes, the harder it will be to cling to the narrative that I would have, or I could have, or if only. AGI collapses lifelong excuses by handing you the exact scaffolding to become the person that you secretly hoped you could be. Awesome as that. It's not a tutor, it is a mirror. And most mirrors don't show the future, but this one does. AGI-driven learning also eliminates something that we've never questioned, the idea that we must all learn in the same cognitive language. Schools expect everyone to think linearly, verbally, abstractly, visually, in the ways that best fit the system, not the individual.
I need to talk about something I saw on TikTok that completely broke my brain. This wasn't AI. This wasn't a filter. It was a parrot, and it was transparent. You could literally see through its feathers, its body, even its internal organs. The bird looked calm, healthy, sitting on a man's hand like nothing was unusual at all. No glitches, no distortion, no AI artifacts.
A NASA satellite weighing over 1,000 pounds will crash down to Earth after almost 14 years in space. A 2.3 magnitude earthquake shook parts of New York today. The Secretary of War said today will be the most intense day of strikes inside Iran. Police in Canada are investigating reports of gunfire at the U.S. consulate in Toronto. President Trump said he is nowhere near ordering U.S. troops on the ground in Iran. The U.S. struck another narco boat yesterday. NATO defenses shot down a second Iranian missile in Turkish airspace. There has been a sharp drop in Chinese military aircraft near Taiwan.
There is nothing that's not made from the Creator. And so instead of God living, where in the universe is God? Is he, near Alpha Centauri somewhere, or is he outside of the universe? No, I believe the universe collectively is God. Therefore, all of us are part of the Creator,
Heard of the bubonic plague. But what about the dancing plague? The dancing plague of 1518 is one of the stranger stories I've discussed on Fireside, which is saying something. It began in the city of Strasbourg, which at the time was a free imperial city within the Holy Roman Empire. That summer, a woman named Mrs. Trofea stepped out into the street and started dancing and couldn't stop. This was not joyful dancing. This was agonizing, compulsive movement, and she danced for days without food or sleep until she collapsed. But what's even spookier is that over the following days, more and more people began to join her, and by the end of that month, hundreds were dancing. Was this a medical disease? Was it related to substance use? Was the city cursed? This is the story we explored in the most recent episode of Fireside Fables, and the deeper you dig, the weirder it gets.
Elon Musk
has been historically obsessed and has made it clear that his mission is to populate Mars and get human beings to Mars.
Yes.
And I think just a couple weeks ago, he posted something saying, no longer is this my goal.
Yes.
Now we have to focus on the moon.
Yes.
Are you surprised at this?
No. Several years ago, I was on a panel at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and the question before the panel was, are we going to Mars? And the other panelists included Dr. Shirley Jackson, who was the president of RPI at the time. There's an organization called space.org, and the CEO of that organization, a retired admiral, as I recall, was on the panel. And then Ellen Ochoa, who is a retired astronaut, was on the panel. And so there was this hour-long discussion about going to Mars. And everyone else, were basically supporting Elon's claim. Mm-hmm. And I was the only one saying, no, we're not going to do that. And there are lots of really good reasons to understand why that was never going to be possible.
Really?
Yeah. Well, by never, I mean, I would not be surprised if we get there by, say, 2090. But we're not going to get there in the short term. And the reasons are a couple. One of the reasons that it was always impossible to adhere to the timescale that was being hyped is because if you look at the exposure, so we live here in the Earth, and the Earth I like to say it is a hospitable home. It creates the conditions for us to live, and it has an atmosphere we need to breathe, obviously.
Right.
But it also has a magnetic atmosphere around it, and this magnetic atmosphere shields us from radiation. When you get in a rocket ship and plan to go to Mars, you go outside of that shield, and therefore the amount of radiations that humans will be exposed in any reasonable length of technology to get to Mars likely suggests that without special shielding, horrible mutations are going to occur, and that's likely to be diseases.
Van Allen talked about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was reason number one to know that Elon was talking out of his hat. Reason number two was there are lots of technical issues. Well, so if you look deeply into my biography, you'll find out I applied to be an astronaut around 1980 or so.
Wow.
Because I had a friend who was an astronaut, the black astronaut Ronald McNair, who died in the Challenger explosion.
No way.
He was a physicist.
Now, you can't blame Elon for having a dream, right? He wanted to go to Mars, but it'll definitely be pretty interesting to see him put some of those humanoid robots on the moon. Well, you guys, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for always stopping by, watching, and learning with me. If you haven't already, hey, do me the biggest favor and smash that like button for me. Hit that hype button and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not a part of the iTrack fam, man. And I will definitely catch you on the next one.